Welcome to the Mind Medicine Inc. annual meeting. I will now hand it over to Carol Vallone.
Good morning and welcome. The annual general meeting and special meeting of Mind Medicine, MindMed Inc. will now come to order. My name is Carol Vallone, and I'm the chair of the board of directors and the chair of this meeting. Today's meeting will be conducted in accordance with the rules of conduct, which are accessible by clicking on Rules of Conduct on the screen. The rules of conduct are intended to help conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, while also allowing shareholders and proxy holders the opportunity to ask questions. First, I would like to direct your attention to the cautionary note on the screen. During today's meeting, we may make certain forward-looking statements. These statements are based on assumptions, opinions, and estimates of management as of today's date, and subject to risks, including those described in our public filings, which could cause actual results to differ materially from those indicated in these forward-looking statements. I would now like to introduce you to the executive officers of MindMed who are attending today's meeting virtually. Rob Barrow, Chief Executive Officer. Brandy Roberts, Chief Financial Officer, and Mark Sullivan, Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary. I will ask Mark Sullivan, Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary of the company, to act as secretary for this meeting. I will ask Jim Raitt to act as scrutineer of the meeting. The scrutineer has taken and subscribed the customary oath of office to execute his duties with strict impartiality. We will file this oath with the records of the meeting. The scrutineer's function is to decide upon the qualification of shareholders and proxy holders, accept their votes, and when balloting on all matters is completed, to tally the final votes. I have received an affidavit from Broadridge that the notice calling this meeting was mailed on April 23rd, 2025 to shareholders of record at the close of business on April 16th, 2025. Based on a preliminary tabulation of shares present in person or represented by proxy at this meeting, I declare that a quorum of shareholders is present at this meeting. As there is a quorum present and as adequate notice of this meeting has been given, I also declare this meeting to be properly called and duly constituted for the transaction of the business of the meeting. We will first deal with the formal business to fulfill the legal requirements of this meeting, following which our Chief Executive Officer will address any questions that do not relate to the formal business of the meeting. As described in the proxy statement and the rules of conduct, questions that are irrelevant to the business and affairs of MindMed or the business of the annual meeting, related to material non-public information of MindMed, related to personal grievances or in furtherance of personal interests, derogatory or otherwise in bad taste, repetitive of those made by another shareholder or proxy holder, or out of order or not otherwise appropriate, will not be answered. All is determined by the chair of the annual meeting. Before we consider the business of the meeting, I would like to comment on the voting procedures to be used at today's meeting. All motions at the meeting will be decided by electronic ballot. To facilitate the formal process of the meeting, I, as chair, will propose the formal motions. Only shareholders and proxy holders may make motions, raise questions, and vote on any matters that come before this meeting. Each item being voted on today is detailed in our proxy statement dated April 23rd, 2025. If you have voted your shares as directed in the proxy materials and are in attendance at the meeting, either in person or represented by proxy, your vote has been received by the company's scrutineer, and there is no need to vote those shares during the meeting unless you wish to revoke or change your vote. The polls are now open. Shareholders and proxy holders who wish to vote their shares may do so by clicking on the Vote Here button. The polls are now open and will remain open until just before the conclusion of the formal business of the meeting. In order to vote, click on the Vote Here button. To change your vote, simply select another voting option. If you would like to cancel your vote, please press Cancel. You must remain connected to the internet until your vote is accepted for your vote to be properly recorded. Shareholders and proxy holders may ask questions online at any time during the meeting by entering a question in the Q&A field located on the lower left of the screen and clicking Submit. We will respond to pertinent and appropriate questions received on each matter of formal business at the time it comes before the meeting. Questions that are not received by that time or which do not relate to the formal business of the meeting will be addressed in the question and answer session following the conclusion of the formal business of the meeting. As the first item of business, I now table the financial statements of the company for the year ended December 31st, 2024, and the report of the auditors. They can also be accessed on MindMed's website. As the next item of business, it is now in order to proceed with the nomination and election of directors. The number of directors of the company has been fixed at 6. The company did not receive notice of any director nominations in connection with this meeting within the time prescribed by the advance notice requirements in the company's articles. Accordingly, at this meeting, the only persons eligible to be nominated for election as directors are the persons nominated by the board as set out in the company's proxy statement. The shareholders are being asked to elect the directors of the company and to serve until the next annual general meeting of shareholders or until their successors are elected or appointed or until they otherwise cease to hold office. Information pertaining to each of the board's 6 nominees for election as director was included in the company's proxy statement. Each of the persons nominated by the board, as set in the company's proxy statement, are currently serving as directors of the company. I will now read the names of the persons nominated as directors by the board. The names of the persons nominated by the board as directors of the company until the next annual general meeting of shareholders are Robert Barrow, Dr. Suzanne Brune, Dr. Roger Crystal, David Griska, Andreas Krebs, Carol A. Vallone. The company has received the written consent of each of these nominees to act as director of the company. Since there can be no further nominations under the company's articles, I declare the nominations closed. Since the nominees is the same as the number of vacancies to be filled, I move that a resolution that the persons nominated for election as directors be elected as directors of the company to hold office until the next annual general meeting be approved. Is there any discussion with respect to this motion? Mark, have we received any questions?
No, we have not.
Shareholders and proxy holders voting at the meeting may vote on this item of business by clicking on the Vote Here button. For each nominee, you may vote for or withhold from voting in respect of that nominee. If you have already provided voting instructions or submitted a proxy, you do not need to vote on this matter as long as your proxy holder is present at the meeting. The next item of business before the meeting relates to the appointment of auditors of the company. I move that KPMG LLP be appointed as the independent registered public accounting firm auditor of the company until the next annual general meeting of shareholders. Is there discussion, any discussion on this motion? Mark, have we received any questions on the appointment of auditors?
No, we have not.
As a reminder to shareholders and proxy holders voting at the meeting, to vote on this item of business, click on the Vote Here button. You may vote for or withhold from voting in respect of this motion. You may not vote for any accounting firm other than KPMG LLP. If you have already provided voting instructions or submitted a proxy, you do not need to vote on this matter as long as your proxy holder is present at the meeting. The next item of business before the meeting is to consider, and if deemed advisable, approve the MindMed, Inc.'s 2025 Equity Incentive Plan. I move that the MindMed, Inc.'s 2025 Equity Incentive Plan be approved. Is there any discussion on this motion? Mark, have we received any questions on the approval of the 2025 Equity Incentive Plan?
No, we have not.
As a reminder to shareholders and proxy holders voting at the meeting, to vote on this item of business, click on the Vote Here button. You may vote for, vote against, or abstain from voting in respect of this motion. If you have already provided voting instructions or submitted a proxy, you do not need to vote on this matter as long as your proxy holder is present at the meeting. polls are now closed with respect to voting on all of the motions. The final report on voting results provided by the scrutineer after the meeting will be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting. Final voting results will be disclosed in a current report on Form 8-K that we can expect to file with the SEC within 4 business days after the meeting, and in a report on voting results that we will file on SEDAR. If final voting results are not available to us in time to file a current report on Form 8-K within 4 business days after the annual meeting, we will file a Form 8-K to disclose preliminary results, and within 4 business days after the final results are known to us, file an additional Form 8-K to disclose the final results. That concludes the agenda for the formal meeting. Since there are no other matters of business to come before the formal meeting is concluded and terminated. I would now like to open the meeting to questions from shareholders and proxy holders. Questions can be submitted through the web portal. Mark will read those questions submitted that comply with the rules of conduct. Mark, have we received any questions?
No, we have not.
Thank you all again for attending our virtual meeting today and for your ongoing interest in the company. That concludes the agenda for today. I thank you for your attendance.
The meeting has now concluded. Thank you for joining. You may now disconnect.